No recession 2020, no economic collapse unless this happens, and we'll talk about what this is. Hey everybody, JJ, you're watching Bull Boom Bear Bust. It is Monday, January 6th. Thank you for joining me. So a lot of bad news out there, or I should say a lot of risk out there, and a lot of fright out there amongst the population. And if you look at mainstream media, some of the mainstream channels are talking about possibility of war and reinstating the draft and all kinds of craziness that I don't think will ever come to fruition. But it is interesting, though, even with that out there, that the markets are green today. We have the NASDAQ, Dow Jones, and S&P all in the positive, just fractionally. We have gold hanging in there, about $15.66. Oil still above $62. It's right about $62.91. And there's a lot of talk about the actions taking place in the Middle East that I won't go into too much detail about, because that tends to get into a little more political or geopolitical analysis, right? Not my specialty, but I do know that the uncertainty of an escalation of something happening could affect the markets very dramatically. Now, there's talk out there, this is not me saying this, but there's talk that these types of things are done, these conflicts or beginnings of wars, hopefully this is not the beginning, but things similar to this are sometimes implemented on purpose to mask an economic collapse. Now, do I think that's happening? Am I the one saying that's going to happen? No. But there is talk that that is something that governments do to distract or to mask economic collapses, or to try to hold off the economic collapse. That way they can implement a whole bunch of new spending and printing if they haven't done enough already. Now, I want to talk about a few topics here, but the first topic I want to talk about is some of the comments that we get on this channel, and I'll just make this brief. And I really, really appreciate all the comments, even negative comments. But on the last video, we got quite a bit of negative comments, people saying that this was doom and gloom and this was fear-mongering. A lot of these people that are leaving these comments seem to be people that are not watching the videos, because if you watch it, it's not me that's predicting this home price drop. I think the Fed is going to cut rates, and along with that, mortgage rates are going to be driven lower, and I do not see any housing market drop in the next year at least. But again, some people don't watch the video, they just read the headline and then they go in comments and they say, this is doom and gloom, you're fear-mongering. But just because home prices, or just because I don't think home prices are going to come down, doesn't mean something is going to happen or something is not going to happen to trigger panic in these markets. And again, it could be a conflict in the Middle East, a new war, an event, right? What if someone, some country, some entity hacks the power grid or the financial system? Right? What if the corrupt government does it and blames another entity, and that's another way they can mask the financial meltdown? That way they'll have something to blame it on, right? I wouldn't be surprised at anything at this point. What I'd like to stress here on this channel is be prepared for anything. This is not fear-mongering. It's just preparation. Bad stuff can happen. And it doesn't take a financial expert to figure this out. I think even a 7th, 8th grade dropout can figure this out. It's just common sense. If the economy was so strong, if there was nothing to fear or nothing wrong, why does the central bank have to intervene in the banking system? Right? Anyone that's even halfway paying attention to what's happening right now in the financial system knows that something big is not right. Something wicked this way comes. This is a house of cards. Can they keep the house of cards propped up? Absolutely. With enough super glue and duct tape, they can keep it going for who knows how long. But what if they fail? What if there's an event? What if there is an unforeseen situation that brings this thing down? And it seems to me a lot of people that are overconfident in this economy, thinking that anything negative is doom and gloom, a lot of these people are overconfident that the bankers and the politicians are going to hold this thing together. What if they mess up? What if they hit the wrong button? What if an algorithm gets misprogrammed and triggers a sell-off? Or what if an individual or group of individuals doesn't have the people's best interest? So the people that say a collapse or economic correction or recession is impossible, those people seem to be very trusting of the politicians and of the bankers that run the economic financial system. So I don't know about you, but I choose to believe that politicians and bankers are looking out for themselves and not looking out for the average, or I should say middle class American citizen. And if I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments where I'm wrong. What do you see as your evidence that should tell us that the politicians and the bankers are concerned about us more than they are about themselves and their own wealth? Right, I would be very, very interested to hear your commentary or your proof or even your opinion on that. Because I think most people would think the opposite. Most people think that the politicians and the bankers are not looking out for us, they are looking out for themselves. Right? Much evidence and much news has come out pointing exactly to that. Speaking of bankers, well, let's take a look here. A Fed banker, a senior central banker, says that low rates could get even lower. Well, there's no surprise right there. But it does contradict a little bit about what Jerome Powell has been saying recently. Powell's out there most recently saying that there's likely not going to be any movement in the rates, at least throughout the first half of 2020, saying that they're going to hold rates steady. Now, I tend to believe, or I tend not to believe what they say, and just look at what they've done and what they've implemented here. They're telling us that the economy is strong, but yet there's a massive liquidity crisis repo operation happening. They tried to raise interest rates for a very short amount of time, three minor rate hikes, and the economy could not withstand that, so they had to start cutting rates. And instead of shedding assets from the balance sheet of the central bank, they had to begin increasing their balance sheet once again through asset purchases. And this stimulus has to continue. And why? Because this is a debt-based economic system. As soon as they stop issuing ever increasing amounts of debt, the entire economy comes to a screeching halt. Now, maybe they won't ever stop. Maybe they'll keep on stimulating the economy to infinity. If that's the case, it also is likely not going to be a very good outcome, because then we're going to likely see uncontrolled inflation and hyperinflation. Also could be a stagnation of the economy with rising prices, and stagflation also is not a very pleasant economic experience for those people that live through that. Now, here in the United States, we've been very lucky. We've had the world reserve currency for many years. We also have a limitless credit card that we can run up via never-ending debt and spending, which makes life pretty easy for a lot of people. But what I think we need to do, and what we need to ask ourselves, and what we need to prepare for, is what happens when some person or some group decides to no longer make this easy life, right, possible for many millions of people here. And what happens when they do decide to change the game, so to speak. And also, when you start talking about if there's going to be a recession or not, or an economic collapse or correction, different opinions on the definition of recession. If you ask many people, there's likely millions of people out there that'll tell you that we are in a recession. For example, 2019 farm debt and bankruptcies reached a record high. So farmers are seeing some of the worst times financially that they've seen in many decades. And where does all this uncertainty lead to? Well, it's going to lead a lot of people into safer assets that have been trusted for thousands and thousands of years. Gold just hit a 6-year high. And we looked at that price at the beginning. It's holding 1566 as we speak in this report right here. And at the end of the day, there is a lot of uncertainty out there. Unfortunately, even precious metals, we don't know what the true value is, because it's also a manipulated market. And if you don't believe that, just type in Chase bankers charged gold manipulation. Actually, let me just type that in real quick here. Now, I haven't seen any updates on this story recently, but it was pretty well documented on the end of 2019, September and October. A lot of news came out about that. So we're going to see where that leads, and what's going to happen if gold and silver do find their true value, if the manipulation is somehow stomped out, or if it becomes more regulated where we have to find the true value of these items. you might see a major investment opportunity. That's about all for today's update. Please again let me know what you think down in comments. What we're going to see continuing through 2020. I expect no recession, again, no financial crisis, and no economic collapse. I see more manipulation, propping up of the market. And just look at the stock indexes today. They're all in the green, although they're only up fractionally. Even with the events taking place in the Middle East, the market is still going up. That should tell you something about the level of manipulation that we're seeing right now. But thanks for watching this update. We appreciate you being here. And we hope you come back for another dose of economic reality. Bye for now.